Macaulay Culkin hasn't said anything, and that's exactly why people can't stop talking about him. As Michael 2026 slowly moves toward release, reactions have poured in from fans, critics, and people connected to Michael Jackson's legacy. Some have spoken openly, some have cautiously commented, and then there's Macaulay Culkin, one of the few people who knew Michael Jackson not as an icon, but as a friend. Yet in the middle of all this noise, he's chosen complete silence. That silence feels heavy, because Macaulay Culkin isn't just another celebrity with an opinion. He was there during some of the most intense years of Michael's life. He defended him publicly when doing so came with consequences. He stood by him when public opinion turned hostile, and for that reason alone, people believe his perspective carries a kind of authenticity that no biopic can replicate, which is why his absence from the conversation feels unsettling. Fans keep asking the same question. If anyone understands how Michael truly lived, why isn't he saying anything now? Some believe the answer is respect. Macaulay has always been private about his relationship with Michael. Even in the past, when he defended him, he avoided dramatizing their friendship. He never turned it into content. He never turned it into spectacle. So, to some, his silence now is simply consistent with who he's always been. But others see something more complicated. They wonder if Macaulay doesn't recognize the version of Michael being shaped for the screen. They question whether the biopic aligns with the man he knew behind closed doors. And because Macaulay has never been afraid to speak when it mattered, his decision not to comment feels intentional rather than accidental. There's also another layer to this silence: fatigue. Macaulay Culkin grew up under a microscope, much like Michael. He understands what it's like to have your life interpreted, simplified, and replayed by strangers. He knows how narratives harden once they're repeated often enough. So it's possible that watching Michael's life become cinema once again doesn't inspire a reaction, it inspires withdrawal. After all, not every truth wants to be packaged. What makes this moment especially powerful is how much people project onto Macaulay's quiet. Some fans imagine he's protecting memories that don't belong to the public. Others believe he's refusing to legitimize a story he didn't help shape. And some think he's simply letting the film exist without interference, believing that nothing he says would change the outcome anyway. In a culture that demands instant reactions, silence becomes suspicious. But silence can also be a boundary. Macaulay Culkin doesn't owe the world a reaction, and yet, because of who he is and who Michael was to him, people continue to wait. Because if Macaulay ever chooses to speak, it wouldn't feel like commentary, it would feel like testimony. That's why his silence feels louder than any interview. It reminds us that there are parts of Michael Jackson's life that never belonged to the public, parts that won't appear in a film, parts that can't be captured in performances or scripts, and maybe Macaulay Culkin understands that better than anyone else. As Michael 2026 approaches, debates will continue, opinions will harden, versions of the truth will compete. But somewhere outside that noise is someone who knew Michael without the spotlight, and who has chosen, at least for now, not to speak. And sometimes the most honest reaction isn't a statement, it's restraint.